That's right. Well, thank you, Kason, and good morning, everyone. I'm Bert Carreli, Senior Publication Manager at Highwire Press at Stanford. We have just completed 2 days of our Highwire publisher meeting down at Stanford, so I've been rather busy doing a lot of the work of that conference, and so you'll have to excuse me if things seem a little discombobulated early on here. I'll try to get into the swing of things. I want to pick up on what Kason was saying about the thematic, the themes that we want to pursue today. Really, we're talking about ways that technology is improving and changing the ways that we interact with scholarly content. We're talking about ways that publishers are using that technology to repackage their content to reach new audiences, and we're talking also about ways that the technology is actually changing the content itself and changing the nature of scholarly research. So there's a lot to talk about, a lot of subjects. I've picked a few. These are by no means exhaustive in terms of the number of things we could be talking about today, but hopefully with the help of my colleagues on the panel here, we'll touch on some of the main themes that are of interest to you. Just a quick overview of who we are. Highwire Press, it's a division of Stanford University. It's part of the Stanford Libraries. Started back in, first journals went online in 1999. Very early adapters to web technology. At Stanford, they're always looking to understand what the next big thing is in technology, and at that time, the web just appeared to be a good way to get scholarly content out there, disseminated, and republished. It's grown dramatically over the years, changed dramatically. We're just recently announced a couple of deals. Kason mentioned we're bringing the Duke Books collection on board, so the numbers are changing rapidly and will continue to change over the next year. And but that doesn't tell the whole story. It's a place where scholars are accustomed to coming for high quality content, primarily in the life sciences and medical fields, but in a growing way in the social sciences and humanities and in the arts. I don't want to dwell on that piece of it. Just to give a sense of this, as Kason mentioned, I started in this electronic publishing business with the very first of the online databases with Dialogue, venerable service that if you did your library studies in the any time in the 80s or 90s, you were familiar with Dialogue from the very rudimentary telnet connections, accessing content. A real change in this business that I've seen over the course of my years in it is that the electronic side was in the early days seen as an addition, as Yogi Berra might say, the frosting on the gravy. It was really not necessarily a big concern. If something came of this new technology, well, great. Most publishers thought, but we're not going to stake our business on it. Dramatic change today, as all of you can recognize. The electronic side is becoming more and more strategic, a piece of the business, and we've crossed over to in 2008 where the digital is supreme. Is actually higher in revenue than print in our area. Disruptive mobile. Another huge piece of it. This is a prediction from one of the economic commenters, Business Insider, that more and more content is going to be accessed by mobile devices as opposed to computers at all. This is a huge change in our industry, and we just have to keep focused on it. Outsell is an organization that comments broadly on our industry and talks about, you know, what are the technologies that really make a difference in our industry. And as you can see up there in the area of high importance and in immediacy, the kinds of things that I assume we will be talking about today. Certainly we're concerned with analytics, mobile computing, HTML5, APIs. You'll hear these terms talked about quite a bit, semantic technology as well. Even further out, more of computing in the cloud, more uses of artificial intelligence. But these are forces they're affecting us all. A few years ago, as I mentioned, Highwire was a very early adopter to web technology, and as a result, we had a somewhat scattershot approach to bringing content into the web. And many sites would come to, or publishers would come to Highwire with their own formats, SGML, and with very differing kinds of requirements, and we would basically build the websites to order. A few years ago, it was realized that this was not a scalable approach to the way this business could be sustainable, and so Highwire began a process to literally reinvent the way that we present and store information. So we essentially reimagined as a series of service layers, being at the very heart of it what we call the Atom Store, which is our content repository of structured XML. We also embarked on a program to transform the content into more standards of the industry. So, as I say, structured XML, the NLM 2, and now moving on into NLM 3 and JATS. But by doing this, what we've been able to do is to create what we call an open platform. The idea behind an open platform is to have this content be not necessarily a walled garden, but something that could be built on by others in the industry, that publishers were not limited to what the platform itself offers, but could be extended to other technologies. And so these are some of the things that have been able to be built there. And today we've refined this, and we're continuing to build on it. If you look at this from the bottom, how's that work? Is that right? Yeah. Oh well. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Sorry to give you such a complicated slide, but essentially, if you look at it from this lower right corner, at the very base of it is our Highwire Express. That is our intake of content from original print publications, transformed by some of our partners into NLM 2 or NLM 3. We are adding value in the process of bringing it into what I described before, the Atom Store, and then adding services on top of it, the website that users are familiar with seeing. But then at another level, we're also offering, we're pushing the content out in its enriched form, in the form of APIs, and also additional services that are built on top of the content, like analytics, for example, and additional user interfaces. So some of the things that we've been doing just as examples of how this open platform has in many ways transformed and helped to bring this content to new audiences. A couple of years ago we began building what we call mini sites. So this is taking the concept, if you think of the journal and the website as analogous to each other. In the early days, the website was just a digital representation of the journal. Start with a table of contents, move to content, current content, have access to an archive. We're not limited to that in the open platform. So, for example, there's a series of mini sites that we built recently for the American Society for Biology and Microbiology, the venerable Journal of Biological Chemistry. So taking the concept of the mega journal and breaking it down into areas, into subject areas, 21 areas of study. So we enable the editors to collect this information at their discipline area and then to present it in their own way, so that it can be easily accessed by anybody in the field, from anyone from students who are researching it for the first time, or professionals in that field. And it follows the original submission process. There's an additional service that Highwire offers called Bench Pressed, which is a submission platform similar to Scholar One or eJournal Press that allows for content to be submitted and in a particular subject area. So the editors now have control of the process from the very first submission all the way through the display and representation to the public. So it's following the design of the editorial structure of the ASBMB. And another type of mini site is one that we've built for the American Association for Cancer Research, and it's combining additional content that's not in the journal in a easily presentable page, in this case Cancer Discovery News. So it's taking that content, reusing it, putting it out to the public in a way that it's combining it, making it more immediate to users. Also, the American Society for Cancer Oncology has a series of mini sites as well. A new project that we're doing, just to show examples of how the open platform is allowing content to be combined with other non-journal content, is a project that we're doing for the American Geological Society, and it's in partnership with another technology provider, iFactory. And what we're doing in this site, and it's in a beta format right now, is tagging articles with their geographic information, so that we can actually map out where articles are. You can zero in on parts of the world where, in the field of geology, obviously it has high applicability, so that articles are closely related to localities around the world. This is very broad brush here, and I'm trying to keep this at a fairly narrow or a fairly shallow level, but be as broad as possible, just to kind of throw some themes out there, and we can dig deeper into them as we go along. Article level metrics and alt metrics have become a huge area of interest for both readers as well as publishers. We're seeing that social media is playing an increasing role, at least in terms of generating buzz, whether it has long-lasting, significant impact is a different question. But it's a question that we're starting to be able to answer by providing some of these kinds of tools that measure impact. One of the organizations that we're working with is a company called Impact Story. They're a nonprofit, and they're beginning to do projects of this type. This is ground that was originally plowed, and it's being led by the folks at PLOS. But we're benefiting from some of the work that they've done already, and making authors familiar with the fact that you can measure and begin to display and make use of the use of social media. Is an example of some of the things that PLOS is doing. Last year, I guess about 6 months ago, we released on the Highwire platform the site eLife, which is a new open access site, and that site makes heavy use also of altmetrics, ways of measuring citations, ways of measuring the chatter in social networks. It's a growing area. You can see how it benefits readers in the sense of answering the question, what is it that is, what are other people in my field talking about? What are they interested in? By putting together all these measures of impact, the classic citation index, the ISI data, along with newer data like Twitter and Facebook and other types of social media. It's also of benefit to authors, because authors are able to get a quick feedback on the impact of their writing, and get a sense of where they stand in their industry. More and more, you're seeing authors, especially among the open access, sending out to funders. Here's a link to my metrics. Here's look how many people have read my latest submission. And it's serving publishers as well, where you can see that these articles, this way of grouping content and of promoting content is making an impact in the publishing area as well. So we're working with Impact Story. We're working with another outfit called altmetric.com. These are companies that are pursuing this measure and adding this value to articles. They each have a slightly different way of representing impact. Altmetric has this donut that gives you an idea of the tweets and blog activity. Impact Story, more traditional tabular format. There's an example there of Impact Story as well. I'm going to move on to another aspect of the open platform, and this is the steps into what's has been called and was first called by Tim Berners-Lee way back in 2006, the Semantic Web. The concept of the Semantic Web has been that the web itself is the computer, and if computers can process content that is not limited to one server or one computer, it expands the capabilities dramatically. But computers have to understand what's being produced in all these different silos of information. So it's the first steps towards this have been to standardize some of the tagging in content and to get it into a place where computers can reach it, and that's so it's a convergence of cloud technology as well as of the growth of standards. First steps towards this not truly semantic, but a necessary first step was the involvement in schema.org. Schema.org was actually a collaboration between Google, Bing, and Yahoo as a way of improving search. What it does is it turns content into simple factual data for improving the way that machine to machine understands what the content is all about. It was first launched back in 2011, and it defined a number of classes of content. The example here, a video object could be recognized, a thumbnail image. A content can be recognized as a title. So today, when you search, for example, for a company, you want to search for any kind of services-oriented company, you can put in the hours of opening, and it recognizes that when the opening hours are, or it recognizes what their pricing is, or it recognizes what the menu is. So a menu is a tag for a restaurant that really describes. It gives you an answer as opposed to just landing you on a home page someplace and forcing you to search within a website. So the first steps toward this that Highwire has been doing has been tagging articles as scholarly articles. There are many more steps that we need to do to take this further, but that was one piece of it, and then being able to put it out into a repository where it can be recognized by the search engine. So this primarily is within the world of search engines. The next step, and things are moving quickly in this direction, is what's called linked open data, and it's a much broader and more important framework of describing content, so that you recognize that a machine can recognize that a text string is a person or a location or a relationship or a process. And the way this is done is by defining these things as standard objects that can be manipulated by computers. In other words, URLs. And so when somebody can look up a URL and they can recognize that it's some type of subject, it actually is a statement that a computer can understand that helps to describe what that is. It takes the form of what's called a triple, puts it into a format so that it forms essentially a sentence that says this thing is related to this thing in some way. X is a predecessor of Y, is a catalyst to one or the other. There's a lot of information out on this. There's a couple of good resources here that I'd like to point out to you. Tim Berners-Lee himself. Also, there are more and more resources out there. It's a growing area. So these triples being pushed out into the web are now in these nodes. The very first of them was, as you can see, this little ecosystem right here with DBpedia, which is a kind of it's a database form of Wikipedia. That was one of the first stores of these triple stores, what they call them. But as you can see over the years, it's increased dramatically. 2008, 2009, 2010. These are stores of information that are available for computers to access and to turn into other types of understanding and other types of applications. The life sciences area is this pink area here in this lower side here, and essentially our vision on this is turning Highwire into one of these nodes that can be then related to other nodes of the of the linked open data universe. Some of the applications for this we're seeing in the government area, because they have access to lots and lots of data that can be transformed in this way, of mashups, of tying in demographic data, for example, with real estate sales, or with other kinds of sociological data. This is a huge initiative, both for Highwire and for Stanford University libraries, is turning the resources that we have and that our publishers contribute into these types of stores. We're working with a partner right now. They're called the Stationery Office. They've built a number of applications for in the British government, the Legislative Office in the UK, being able to look at these massive archives of information and to tie in one with the other. It's a big process. For example, when the legislature is trying to is debating a new regulation or a new law, to be able to find where does this exist and how many other thousands of legislative regulations that are out there in the market. This is something we're going to see more of over the next year, and something we're very excited about. Another area that we're hearing a lot about from librarians especially is text and data mining. And what this, it's been going on for quite some time, is that companies will approach publishers, and they'll approach publishers will then in turn approach Highwire to help facilitate the crawling of data, and it's trying to pull, in many cases, thousands or hundreds of thousands of documents, so that it can be used within the researcher's environment for further analysis, further enhancement for their own applications. This is something that has been an area of concern for publishers, because where does this fit in the business model of publishing? Does the crawler or the data miner have the right to do this on a massive level with content? And so it's been kind of a confounding problem, with a lot of very different standards being applied from one publisher and one platform to another, answering some really key questions about whether do they have the rights to do this? How do we give them the rights? What's involved in negotiating those rights? It's very much a scattershot in the ways that it's been handled, where data miners, in some cases, are cloaked. They try to stay under the radar. It's usually a postdoc who's been asked by a primary investigator to go out and create a program, a bot that will pull down articles and try to not do it so quickly that you'll get noticed. But there's hundreds of them that we encounter all the time. Different perspectives on this. They're worth following, and if you're interested. But a few publishers have taken the step to say, okay, we're going to support this activity in a broad way. There's a link there to a paper by the folks at Elsevier who made that decision just last year. And then on the other hand, looking at it from the perspective of the data miner and the trouble that they've had of doing this. That last link was from a group at University of California at Santa Cruz that has built the genome browser, what they call the genome browser. And what this is it's an application organized around the 23 chromosomes and genes that that are in research, that have been defined, have been worked on. And what they've done is they've mined data. This is in this particular case, it's articles from Elsevier and from PubMed that mention those particular genes. And so a researcher can then come in, if they're studying a particular location on the genome, a particular gene, they can zoom in to that gene, and then also see all the literature that's associated with it. It's a very powerful tool. Another trend here. I'll just do a quick time check here. I've got about, oh lordy, okay, 5 more minutes maybe. Okay. Massive open online courses, MOOCs. This has gotten a lot of press, and it's not necessarily a new concept. Online courses have been around for a while, but at a broad level, they pose some challenges for publishers. Challenges in terms of what rights are available to the content. Under what terms do we provide those rights? If Stanford or Harvard or another university is going to offer an open course to thousands and thousands of students, do all of those students in whatever institutions they come from have similar rights, or how do we somehow make this so that it's actually supporting the idea of an open online course? So Stanford and Highwire have been partnering with an organization that actually came out of Stanford called SIPX. They began as the Stanford Intellectual Property Exchange. It was begun as a research project. The idea was to create a copyright marketplace that fits the need of these kinds of courses, and it's taking a broad scale approach to being able to give students the rights to the content that they need. This was launched back in 2011. It provides micro transactions that can be used by students and professors to put course packs together for these courses. It allows a professor to not only locate the content that they need for their course, but also to negotiate the rights in a fairly automated way. So it's a significant development when it comes to the ongoing use and potential monetization of content. Another one we can't not mention here is EPUB. EPUB, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is more than just the content that can go onto a device. It's actually taking the peripheral files, images, in some cases data as well, turning them into a single file that can then be used on multiple devices, and it's reflowable so that it fits the format, the form of the device, and also enables the kind of take it and go, the offline experience of your content. You're not chained anymore to the web. It remains to be seen how popular this will be. How necessary it is, but it's a force that we need to be aware of, and that's all. I could keep going on, but I'm not going to, because we have a lot more interesting stuff to talk about. Thank you.